Hello, everyone. My name is Judith Uchidiuno, and today I'll be sharing our Tokai journal paper called What's Your Name Again? How Race and Gender Dynamics Impact Co-Design Processes and Output. We'll be talking about the complications in power distribution in adult-child co-design partnerships, especially when adults facilitators are minoritized with respect to race and gender. Co-design is a form of participatory design where artifacts are co-created with equal inputs by design experts and the product to end users. This is especially important when researchers are not members of the same social or cultural groups as the intended users. This extends to adult-child co-design partnerships that allows children's voices and interests to be represented, with the fundamental idea that children actively construct their knowledge through their lived experiences. With regards to power distribution, co-design researchers advocate that work with children should strive for equal partnerships so children feel that their input is being taken seriously. Techniques such as sitting at equal heights, wearing similar casual clothing, providing social opportunities for both adults and children are recommended as a part of this long-term process of building a culture where children are regarded as equals. Researchers such as Kemper et al. Maintain that this expectation of equality is unrealistic, and therefore adult co-designers should regard children as native informants rather than equal partners. Regardless of the stance, all these perspectives assume that adults come into these settings with the power, but that is not always true. Little attention is paid to how social cultural factors such as race and gender may influence participants' design input or interact with the methods used to solicit it. The research shows that children as young as 3 years old express racial and gender bias towards others. And even though it's common practice to describe demographic factors such as race and age and gender of participants and sometimes co-design facilitators, it's rare that these demographic identifiers are used as a lens to unpack co-design interactions or output. So the focus of this talk is not about racism or sexism. These issues are unfortunately ubiquitous in our society, or it's not even to talk about how children may enact racist or sexist tropes against adults. Our goal is really to educate researchers about the complications that can arise in co-design interactions due to these issues and advance the dialogue on how to better approach co-design settings for more equitable partnerships. Our team calls co-designing co-robotic programming video games with K-12 after-school programs with the goal of increasing computational thinking and coding skills among low-income and marginalized youth in the U.S. We worked with 6 in-person after-school programs with over 100 students in total. Our program ran for each after-school program over 20 weeks, comprising of game design, programming instruction, and STEM identity, and game testing and iteration phases. Each session was about an hour long with a snack time, a question of the day, which is an icebreaker, session activities and debriefs, and finally, freestyle gameplay. We focus our interactions on one after-school program that we gave the names Clear Bridge. The purpose of this after-school program was to be a homework helper. Parents enrolled their children to mostly help with homework here. In this group, there was a total of 14 students, mostly Caucasian, mostly boys, and this was in a rural and working class neighborhood. We compare our interactions in this after-school program with other groups, one of them called Green Hill, 23 students, mostly African-American in a low-income neighborhood, and another one called Golden Grove, which was very middle class, mixed race, half and half girls and boys. And these students had a lot of interactions, a lot of experience with STEM, while these students didn't have a lot of experience with STEM. It's important that in this kind of talk, we'll talk about positionality and reflexivity. Positionality refers to an individual's worldview and the position they adopt about a research task. So my identity matters as a researcher when I do research. And reflexivity is kind of like retrospective, right? When it's a process of introspection on the role of our subjectivity in the research process. As researchers, we are part of the social world that we study, and we realize that it was impossible to neutralize the influences of our identity and how we interpret the data. So throughout our data analyses and data collection and data reporting, we really kept our identity in mind and took advantage of our intersectional identities. Most of these are detailed in the paper on how we did these. As you can see, we have the total of 9 researchers ranging from Black African women to white men, Asian men, Black American women, with different expertise ranging from HCI PhDs, learning science PhDs, people that have over 10 to 20 years experience in robotics education. I have educated thousands of students in our area. We didn't start out really planning to investigate issues related to racism and gender discrimination. This started early in the process, and we know that we understood that there was going to be a problem here. So this is a vignette between a student and I. Everybody, for context, called me Dr. J in all the after-school programs. So the student asks, "What's your name again?" And I say Dr. J. The student says, "No, the other name." I say Judith. The student says, "No, I mean your real name." And then they followed up by mispronouncing my last name in several different ways. I wasn't surprised by this. I have an African last name that is sometimes hard to pronounce. And so I asked them, "Would you like for me to teach you the right way to pronounce my last name?" And the student says, "No, I know how to say it." And they followed up by pronouncing my last name the right way. And this was kind of a part of different patterns that we have noticed on them not calling women by their official titles, but calling men by titles, or listening more to the male researchers than they were to the women. And so we knew that we needed to pay attention to these factors in our research. So all our sessions were video and audio recorded with consent from the clubhouse and student families, and families were informed that their students were going to learn about programming and also some identity-based activities as well. We also debriefed after each session. We took an inductive data analysis approach with thematic analysis on all students and student researcher interactions on topics related to gender and racial bias. 4 members of our research team independently annotated each session video broken down by 1-minute intervals. Then the whole team compared all the annotations side by side and then collectively tagged each interaction where a social cultural stereotype or bias was observed. We found that certain kinds of identity understanding tasks, like an art project, a bias understanding activity, and a dance programming activity, amplified problematic rhetoric, which disrupted the traditional power structures that we expected. And we're going to present data from 3 case studies. For the first one, humanoid sketches, we want to understand if you have interacted with programmers in the past. Create a sketch of what you imagine the programmer looking like using an avatar tool. Our goal was to observe any identity transformations that may occur. So a student at the beginning of the programming activity might have impressions of what they think a programmer looks like, but towards the end, hopefully the programmer mirrors them because they are now programmers. And our hypotheses was students will create avatars that look like themselves if they have experienced any representation in CS education, and after our intervention, avatars will better mirror student identities. In the STEM Enrichment Center, this is kind of like in the middle income, mixed race, mixed group, diverse group. Students produced samples that really mirrored themselves. This white woman here was created by a white girl. The Black woman was created by a Black girl. But they still had some stereotypes, like programmers never have their hair down, glasses make her look smart. And then this is from the group of students who had never experienced programmers before. You can see a 32-year-old John, 13-year-old Jayla. They didn't really have a concept of what age should be a programmer or where are they from. This group is from our homework helper group. The left picture says this person is Biden Joe, 87,000 years old. He has no brain. He programs video games. The next one is Bob. He's 600 years old. He's from South America. The Democrats have programmed him to president. Of course, we had to discard this data. But the most interesting part is Joe Biden, who is the president of the US, is an older white man. But the way that he's represented in this is in the physical form of a younger Black person. The next case study was a bias understanding activity. The prompt was, we will show you pictures of people from different backgrounds. Tell us the people you think who are programmers, and we'll reveal the real answers at the end. Our goal was to unpack participants' internalized racial and gender biases towards STEM, and in particular, their perceptions of careers in programming. Our hypothesis was students were going to guess based on explicit bias factors such as race, gender, age, or superficial non-identifying factors such as hairstyle, clothing, a background. This is a sample of some pictures that we might have showed the students, but in real life, we showed them 20 pictures of real people with computer science backgrounds. Many of them are popular HCI researchers that we know, students and faculty from different universities who gave us permission to use their pictures for our research. And we found that students thought in this homework helper group, they found that all Black models were not programmers. They cited reasons like he looks like a guy who works from home. She does not look very intelligent. He looks like LeBron James, a rapper, or football player. They commented that most Indian descent models were not programmers, citing reasons like she looks like she's an Indian from Mexico. She looks like she's from Africa. The People from Africa program. At another South Asian female model, student remarked and said, looks like the lady that works for the government. I'm just referring to Vice President Kamala Harris. She just looks dumb. For every East Asian model was certainly a programmer with justifications like he looks like he programmed GTA, Minecraft, everything. And he doesn't look like a lazy man. He's Asian. Most white models were programmers, except for one model who took a picture in front of a haystack, and they predicted that she was on a farm. She worked on a farm. And finally, we conducted a dance activity with the basic goal of building computational skills around command sequences and loops. Our prompt was to tell the students to form groups, pick a song, program a dance routine, and show off your moves. We just thought all of us adults and kids alike were going to dance together. It was going to be super fun, and students will connect everyday activities to programming. So this is an example of like when students were kind of programming, when the beat drops, do these moves with a loop in between. And this is just a sample of us doing it in the Safe Haven group. From the homework helper group, we found that students picked songs that allowed them to criticize the sexuality of artists, picked songs with sexually inappropriate language, danced really provocatively. They made really sexually suggestive comments to the girls in the room, and the girls no longer wanted to participate in the activity. And so the offending students remained disruptive until they were asked to leave the session. Because at that point, it's much easier to intervene and enforce discipline when other children are harmed versus when it's just the adults in the room that are receiving some of the negative rhetoric. So why is all this important? Researchers present with obvious racial, gender, and sexuality identifiers that impact how participants interact with them, regardless of their professional competence. And this is for adult or children participants. This may even be applicable even in non-design settings. Researchers, we need to understand that such disruptions may occur and have a remediation plan just in case it does. These disruptive acts undertaken during the power struggle significantly degrades the co-design process and product, and ultimately, the goal of equality in co-design may be ideal, but it's an insufficient North Star to guide researchers from minoritized backgrounds. So what should we do? Stereotype and bias understanding is critical early in the design process. Invest time, understand the context to better prepare for co-design partnerships. We have to play devil's advocate and question how design materials can be co-opted to enact any harmful stereotypes, and also co-constructing rules of engagement that prioritize the well-being of students and facilitators. And researchers such as Weinstein et al. Provides framework for doing so. Preparing minoritized researchers for such interactions will help as well, and as well as increasing intercultural sensitivity among children using different kinds of activities, and so just including giving students opportunities to learn about other cultures. I'll be glad to take any questions. These are all the ways that you can reach out to me. Thank you.